Hello kids, it's me again. I know I'm in a different location again, but it's dark and lighting in here is actually surprisingly really good. Aside from being just really yellow, which I guess I will color correct like that. I hope that bit works. Otherwise, it's just weird. But anyways, today's video is going to be a little different from my other videos. Well, I mean, all my videos are already kind of different from each other anyways, so it's not really a unique statement to make. Anyways, today we're going to be talking about books. Specifically, some of my favorite books that I own. Now, I have a lot of favorite books. I don't own all of them. Some of my favorites were some that I read in school. Some of my favorites were ones that I checked out from the library. And as such, I am no longer, or well, I never was in possession of them. But I've got quite a hearty stack right here. You can't really see it, it's on the coffee table. I got a hearty stack of books that are my favorites that I own. So 9, that's not really a whole lot actually, compared to some people who read a lot. Now a lot of these aren't recent reads. Most of them are from like legit years ago, but I still like them a lot. And I would like to share my book recommendations with you all. So I'm just gonna go in alphabetical order. And the first one is Damage by Josephine Hart. Please get in focus. There it is. Damage by Josephine Hart. This one, I'm not entirely sure how I came across this book. Like, nobody recommended it to me. I don't know if I saw it on like Goodreads or anything, and even if I did, I don't really use Goodreads like that. But it's a nice little story. It's a very short book too, compared to like most books. It's pretty short. It's only, let's see, it has 39 chapters, but legit, these chapters can be anywhere from, I don't know, a regular amount of pages to like a half a page. So it's a short book. Let's see how many pages we're working with. 198 pages, which is actually really close to 200. But as you can see from the way that it's like printed, and the fact that this book is just physically small anyways, you'll get through those pages real fast. And it's just one that I recommend, very small. You can finish this in like a day if you're committed to it. So check that out. Let's see, should I do a plot? I'll do a plot synopsis for all of these. And I'll try to also explain like how I came across them, because some of them do have, well, a few of them have interesting stories. And also I'll say the last time I read it. The last time I read this, it had to be last year, fairly recently. I got it from Amazon because of course I did. It's a hardcover, paperback, not paperback, it has a dust jacket, that's what I meant to say. Yeah, you know what, let's just move on. The next one on my list is Desperation Road. Please focus, is it focusing? Oh well. It's called Desperation Road, and it's by Michael Farris Smith. So about this book, the author actually came to my school to do a reading from this book. He read the first chapter. Ooh, I want to say, was it last year? It wasn't my freshman year. I believe it was my sophomore year. We have readings just about every semester. This year the department did it, well this past semester, the department did it a little differently. We didn't have like, just like standard readings. Last year, this guy, Michael Farris Smith, I saw him. He came to my school, he did a reading from this book, and I thought, oh, okay, this will be something, it sounded interesting. So the thing about this book, about Desperation Road, is that the first chapter isn't really indicative of what the rest of the book is going to be like, if that makes sense. Like, okay, so not really spoilers, I guess, because it's the first chapter, but it talks about a woman whose name I forget. A woman and her child. They're sort of homeless. Well, they are homeless, and they're like walking down a highway, and they come up on a truck stop, I think, and that's really where the chapter ends. They're walking on the highway, they come to a truck stop. You think it's gonna be just solely about this girl and this woman and her daughter, but it's actually not. There's a few more main characters in this, and just the way that all the character stories like come together, because at first they start completely separate, and then you realize there's some, I guess, events that take place in the book that they're all kind of, I guess, connected to each other. Like, they come upon each other by like happenstance, but then you realize that they're related. Not related, but like their stories are related, if that makes sense. I hope it does. And I hope that you read this book because it's a really good read. It's 286 pages, but it really won't feel like that because You'll get through it really fast. It's a page turner, if I may say so. I actually got this from a local bookstore. Well, not local to here where I am, but local to my school, I guess. I got this from an actual bookstore. This next one I also got from an actual bookstore, the same bookstore. I bought this book and Desperation Road at the same time. And this one is, I don't know if I want to call it a classic. It should be a classic. I consider it to be a classic. It is A Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. I saw the movie at first and I thought, wow, this movie is something else. And then I saw this book in the bookstore and I'm like, well, I mean, if the movie was something else, the book has certainly got to be something else. And the book, I will say, ooh, actually, this one's kind of tough. No, the book is definitely better than the movie. Yeah, and it's just great, fantastic. This one's also kind of chunky. It is 415 pages. But you will finish this, like if you're into, I guess, this is sort of a mystery. Yeah, I'll say it's a mystery. If you're into mysteries and stuff, you'll get through this like nothing. And if you've seen the movie and you like the movie, then I most certainly recommend this book to you. I have not read her other book that got adapted into a TV series. I believe it's Sharp Objects. I saw that one in the bookstore too, but I didn't pick it up because I didn't know if I would like it or not. I got this because I saw the movie, I knew I would like it, and I started reading it. It is great, fantastic, 100%. Do not regret buying it. Next one on my list, we have, okay, this one's going to be a little obscure. Maybe not if you're into romance novels. I'm not typically into romance novels, but this one I liked a lot for some reason, and I'm not entirely sure why. This one is called I'll Be Your Everything by J.J. Murray. Now, I didn't know this, well, I think I should start with how I came upon this book. So it was the last day of school, 8th grade, which I'm not gonna calculate how many years ago that was. I'll put it up here once I eventually do that. That long ago, someone, I can't for the life of me remember who it was, but I was in class, not my class. I wasn't in my class for some reason. I was in somebody else's class that I wasn't supposed to be in. But I was in a class, and someone who was sitting next to me was like, hey, you read books, right? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, okay, well, read this book. And they just hand me this random book. I don't know where it came from. I don't know if it belonged to somebody. It probably did. But they gave me a random book, and I started reading it right there. And I'm like, okay, this is fine. I guess I'll keep reading it. And, I mean, is it cheesy? Now, I haven't read this in a long time. I've read it maybe 3, that's kind of a lot for me to read a book, but I've read it legit maybe 3 times. Maybe 2.5. 3 is pushing it. I think I read it like 2.5 times. Yeah, because I still have my dog ear on page 242 or 243. So that's about right, 2.5 times. And you know, I don't really have any like opinions. I guess if you're into romance, then that's cool. I mean, it's not the most atrocious novel. It's not even really bad. I mean, it's written okay. Well, I will say, there's a really weird scene in here, and I wish I could find it. Maybe that's what I had dog-eared. Why did I dog-ear that? Oh, that is what I dog-eared. Okay. It was chapter 24 of this book. Sorry. This is a slight spoiler, I guess, but is anyone really planning on reading this book? Honestly, I don't think so. On chapter 24, or whatever I just said, there's this weird scene with a butt massage. That's all I'm gonna say about that. It was a strange scene. Moving on to some more wholesome content. Our next book on this list is in the Dear America series. It is My Secret War. Now this book, I'd actually first read it, I wanna say I was in middle school when I first read this because it was in the school's library along with the others in the Dear America series. And I thought, wow, this story is like so good. I don't know why I thought that. They actually have another favorite in the Dear America series, and it's called Christmas After All. It takes place during the Great Depression, and I thought that story was really good too. But this one, I guess, I liked it enough to actually buy my own copy of it. I'll say it's rare. I don't usually buy my own copies of books after I read a book for the first time, or like any time. It talks about a girl. I think her name is Madeline Beck. Yeah, it says so right on the cover. It says Madeline Beck. It's about Madeline Beck and her time being a teenager during the war. Like most, I guess, children's books, the text is pretty big and there's not a whole lot per page, so you'll go through this book like in no time. I do recommend it if there are any parents watching for whatever reason, or your late elementary, early middle school. I mean, if your kid is going to like a decent school, they will have these books in their library, because both my elementary and my middle school have them in the library. Let me tell you, this entire series, I will go as far as to say, even though I haven't read the entire series, I will say the entire series is dope, because it just is. I think a lot of these are written by the lady who wrote the Magic Treehouse books. I forgot her name. I can't think of it right off. I'll put it up here once I find that. But she wrote a few of these, I think. I legit can't remember. And then there's some like other authors who write them as well. And it's in the style of like a diary. So like you have diary entries. This one says October 13th, 1941, October 14th, 1941. You know, there's just something like that. And I really do like diary style books like this. Like for a time when I was in middle school, I think that might have been like my favorite kind of book, like diary style books. I don't know why. I just really enjoyed that format, I guess. So next one, I have, well, I don't want to say a special connection to because it's not that special, but I do have a connection to it. It is On the Come Up by Angie Thomas. Hello. Oh, and, oh, don't let me forget. It's signed. I got a signed copy of On the Come Up by Angie Thomas. It was signed by her, yes. It wasn't signed by anybody else, I hope. So, I guess it's time to do a university reveal, but I go to Belhaven University. Do you know who also went to Belhaven University? Angie Thomas. Do you know what Angie Thomas majored in? Creative writing. Do you know what I'm also majoring in? I'll let you in on a little secret. It's creative writing. So yeah, you know, the same person who taught her how to write well is also teaching me how to write well. Not saying that's gonna make me a good writer, but you know, there's something there. But anyways, through the bookstore that's in Jackson, it's called Lemuria, she did a reading at our school and I went there. Well, actually no, it wasn't a reading. I thought it was gonna be a reading, but it ended up just being like an interview or like a talk with, I believe it's the mayor's wife, something like that. But she came to my university and spoke. She was also at one of the chapels. Ooh, when was this? This had to be last semester. It wasn't this semester. It was last semester. Also, of all of the people they've had come to our chapels, like Angie Thomas is the only one I could tolerate because everyone else is just so boring and I use chapel to sleep. I can't do that anymore because they started penalizing people who weren't paying attention because they know how boring chapel is, so they gotta do something to keep us awake. Angie's is the only one that I like stayed awake and like wanted to stay awake. And I should mention, I did read The Hate U Give. I love The Hate U Give. I don't have The Hate U Give because I gave it to my dad for some reason. And he still hasn't given it back because he lives in California and he took it with him and he just never bought it back. It's coming back for Christmas though, so I'm gonna have to remind him to bring it back because I want my book back, okay? Yeah, about On the Come Up. I bought it at the event and it was a very, very good purchase. This book, much like On the Come Up, I finished really fast. Like, let me see here. So, it's 447 pages, which actually is way longer than any book that I would even like consider reading that I wasn't invested in already. So, it's kind of a chunky book. The text is about this big. So I would say a normal size for like the text and the spacing and all of that. But I finished it really quickly. Like, I blazed through it in maybe a week or so. I had to pace myself through it because I didn't want to read all of it at once. I usually do that with books to a fault. I probably shouldn't anymore. I should just, you know, read at the pace that I want to read. But I had to pace this so that, you know, I could read it a little bit at a time over time. And this book I really like. My only complaint is that the dust jacket has this weird matte texture that I don't particularly like, just because it feels weird. But when I have hardback books that have dust jackets on them, I take them off when I'm reading them. I don't know if you all have opinions about that, but that's just something that I do. You know, you don't have to do it. Some people tape their dust jackets with like Scotch tape. That's bad. I used to do that, but I have now realized the error of my ways, and I don't do that anymore. And neither should you. A beast is awakening. This is Rio, by the way, if I haven't introduced him yet. He is my dog and I love him. That is all. Next up is PIMP by Iceberg Slim. Now, I, like probably a lot of people, found this book through Dave Chappelle's First. It was the second of the two of his first like Netflix special. One of them was like a standard comedy special and the other one was just like he was talking to the crowd. It was that one. That's when I found this book. And I decided to read it because, I don't know, he had a really good description of it. I thought, you know what, I need things to read, I'll read that. And let me tell you, this book was a rough read. Now I think, yeah, all of these books that I've just listed here are all fiction, and there's only 2 that I own in this list that I have that are nonfiction. This is the first of the 2. I don't normally read nonfiction, but I think this book is what like got me more keen to read nonfiction because like you can make up some wacky stories, but the wacky stories that actually happened are like the wackiest of them all, you know? This might be the wackiest of them all. Now, I will say, this book is not for the faint of heart. It's got a lot of really hard-hitting stuff in there, and sometimes I found myself like audibly grimacing while reading it. It's a tough book, but it's so good. I love it so much. It's a great book. I recommend it. Oh, and they also include like a little glossary of slang terms in there, which I really enjoyed. This book isn't very long at all. It's only 298 pages, and like basically everything that I just mentioned, it is a definite page turner. So you'll get through it like nothing, like nobody's business. And it's just a really good, memoir. I don't know if it would be considered a memoir or an autobiography, but no doubt I will look up the definition of both and tell you which one it is. So, this one, I don't know if I would call this controversial. I mean, I haven't even really seen any controversy about it, but I just know that the topic in general is pretty controversial, and for a good reason. This one I saw in the bookstore while I was buying Desperation Road and Gone Girl. So like that same day that I was buying that, I bought this book. It is The Real Lolita, The Kidnapping of Sally Horner and the Novel That Scandalized the World. Now, this book is also not very long. It's 259 pages, not counting acknowledgments and all of that. And you'll get through it like basically nothing. It's also kind of a page turner. So this was written by Sarah Weinman, and she is a journalist. And it's about the parallels between a real-life kidnapping case of Sally Horner and Vladimir Nabokov's Lolita. Now, I did read Lolita. I didn't finish it though. It was really hard to finish. Number 1, because of the subject matter, and number 2, because it was like extremely verbose. Because, you know, it was written in the 40s or 50s, 40s? I'll figure it out. It was written then, and the language, you know, reflects that, and it's just really hard to follow, and also subject matter. I know, you know, what the book's about. There are actually 2 movies about Lolita. There's the 50s Stanley Kubrick one that deviates from the story a lot, and there's a 1997 one that sticks pretty close to the story. So I just decided to watch that movie since the movie and the book were basically the same. So, you know, I'm familiar with the plot of Lolita. And like I said, this book goes to the parallels of a real-life kidnapping case and the books. So, apparently there are a lot of, and I was made aware of that through this book, but there are a lot of Lolita scholars, like people who study the book, probably for good reason. I don't really know. I mean, is it that deep of a book? I don't know. I only read most of it. There's a prevailing theory that Vladimir Nabokov's Lolita is based off of this case, and as presented in this book, it seems that, well, number 1, it was only parenthetical in the book. So it was mentioned like 1 line, just that's it, not even like that's it. It was mentioned in passing in the book. And Vladimir Nabokov was aware that this actual kidnapping case was happening, but he and this book's author maintains that they were separate of each other. Nabokov's book is not based on this kidnapping case. However, there are a lot of parallels. And I just think, you know, it's a really interesting read. It's a very sad story for Sally Horner. And if you're into, I suppose this will count as true crime. If you're into true crime and I guess comparing fiction with reality, I would definitely recommend this for you. And last book on this list, which is actually received some controversy, and I do not apologize. I do not apologize for liking this book, and I have some opinions about it. Oh, do I have opinions about it? I saved this one for last, also because it's last alphabetically, but it just worked out that way. The last one on my list, I adored this book so much when I was in high school. Oh my goodness. It's 13 Reasons Why. And hear me out, okay? I know people hate the Netflix show. I also hate the Netflix show. They dragged this story out so long, like it did not need to be dragged out that long. Like who? Okay, for starters, this book takes place over the course of like a night and maybe the events of like the next day. That's it. The Netflix show goes on for months. I'm talking like, okay, so I know the events of the tapes, they happen in like months, but there's really no reason for it to be dragged out as long as it was. That's my opinion about it. It did not need to be dragged out that long. My goodness. Fun fact about 13 Reasons Why, it was initially going to be a movie made by Paramount Pictures starring Selena Gomez, who I know was at least somewhat involved in the production of the show. And I think the movie might not have been long enough, but a limited series, similar to, I guess, how they did Gillian Flynn's Sharp Objects. It would have been more well suited to that than like a show that goes on forever. And first of all, they changed way too much. It's not true to the source material at all. And listen, I know movies or like visual media, I will say, based on books tends to be derivative anyways, but 13 Reasons Why the show and 13 Reasons Why the novel are basically different things. It's just the reality. They're different things. It's different. Like I don't even know what to say. It's like so different. And I adore this book. The way I came across it was that I was in I want to say 9th grade, and someone had recommended it to me because I said, hey, I want a book to read. Can you recommend me a book? And I said, oh, you should read 13 Reasons Why by J. Asher. And I thought, okay, I will keep that in mind. And I think at this point, I was in the 9th grade, I had like just gotten my Amazon account. I got this on Amazon. As you can see, it still has the old cover. There is a cover before this, but I will say in general that I don't like movie version covers of books. Like I just don't like that. Like for instance, hold on. Gillian Flynn, there might have been a movie version of the cover for Gone Girl, but it wasn't on this one. Like this cover by itself is just fine. If I saw Ben Affleck's big stupid face on the cover of Gone Girl, not gonna lie, might not have bought it. Like, jeez, okay, I just fumbled that book there. I will stand by this book 100%. I do not care, all right? I don't know, dude. I don't even know how the show is successful. It's just inflammatory at this point. Like, okay, I don't know if this is spoilers or not, but it might be. Like, there's like, I think there might be some kind of, now this is like third-party information, so I don't even know if it's true, but there might be like some sort of thwarted school shooting plot that goes on. That's not in this book at all, all right? The only thing this book is Clay listening to the tapes, right? And going to the locations that are relevant to the tapes, and then like experiencing emotions. Essentially that's it. It takes place over the course of the night. By the end of it, he like comes back home, and then the book ends with him ships the tapes off to the next person who they're supposed to go to, who I don't know who it was. I think it was Alex. Anyways, he mails the tapes to the next person. He notices a girl who might be depressed, and he decides to reach out to her instead of ignoring her, because he learns that, you know, you should help people who are depressed. And so that's what the book ends on. That's it. There's no weird school shooting. There's no, okay, I also heard that there's like some kind of really intense, not the one related to the tapes, but like a completely separate and different one that they like made up for the show. This really intense assault that happens in like a locker room or something. I can't remember. Like I said, I watched part of the show and I thought, okay, this is going on for too long. I already know this is gonna be wacky, so I just didn't finish it. And that was when the first season was airing when I was a senior in high school. That's it. This should have been either a film or a limited series. That is it. That's all that should have happened. Like, I don't even know why they chose to do it how they did. I don't like it. I don't agree with it. I don't know how Jay Asher feels about it. Ugh. But I mean, the cards fell where they did, and that's what ended up happening. And I guess all we have to blame is Paramount for selling it to Netflix. Also, a fun fact, I believe, I don't know if they probably didn't mention it in the show, but it's mentioned in the books. There's a, not quite an audiobook, but like there are the tapes on YouTube under the YouTube channel name Hannah's Friend 13. I actually looked that up a couple of days ago, or maybe yesterday, it might have been yesterday, and I was surprised to find that they were uploaded there in like 2008. But it also makes sense because this was published in 2007 when YouTube was still like a baby. It makes sense that it was, you know, uploaded that long ago. This book came out that long ago. I'm standing by my opinion that the book is good, the book deserves to be read, and the show should be thrown out the window because it's garbage. Those are my book recommendations. I haven't really been reading a whole lot this year, which makes me sad. I would like to read some more. But yeah, I would also like to maybe also compile a list of my favorite books that I don't own, but I feel like that one's going to be very, very difficult because number one, I've read a lot of books in my life. I was a book nerd. That's just how it is. And like I also kind of forget things really easily. However, maybe if I just do like one or two, then that would be a little easier. I don't know. But those are my favorite books that I own. Do you agree that these books are good? If so, then we can get along probably very well. Do you disagree that these books are good? If so, you better have read them and you better have a good reason why they're not good. I would like to know what you think about these selected books. Maybe even especially how you feel about 13 Reasons Why, the novel, not the show. We will not be discoursing about the show. Not happening. Outro time. Twitter, Ko-fi, subscribe. I'm trying to get to 100. I'm trying to get that custom link. That's it. I'm really bad at ending videos. I always say this when I'm ending a video, but I'm bad at it. Surprise! Video over. Goodbye.